Well, hey folks, how's it all going in? Oh man, what are you building today, Tom? Yeah, you know what? I got a request to build some raised planters using some 5-gallon pails. Now, this one's a little bit different. You haven't seen me do anything like this before. And you're probably asking, where do you get the pails from? These are actually, we're repurposing pails that came from a bakery, where these are for frosting. And my wife went over to a bunch of grocery stores that have bakeries and said, hey, you know, what do you do with your frosting buckets? And apparently they recycle them. So this is repurposing those to use for a garden. So obviously we did drill some holes in the bottom of them. There'll be some mulch going in there with some topsoil on top of it. This is made real cheaply, folks. Real simple design. You can use a saw and a drill to build the majority, in fact, all of this if you want. We're gonna cheat a little bit and use the miter box, and we've got some other power tools we're gonna use. But I'm gonna leave, I'm going to show you what I'm using for materials and approximate lengths. This is for this would fit 8 5-gallon buckets. So I'll tell you what, let's keep on going. All right, so there's the material list. Let's go through where everything goes. So I've got 5 of the 2x4x5s, and that's our side rails here. Our side rails, our bottom rails, where the buckets actually sit on. Our verticals there are 2x4, and you can see the legs there's 4 of them, 2x4x3, and then there's 4 2x4x29s, and those are our rail going across there. Super simple. For the cedar, I'm using cedar fence sections. All this I got at the orange store, folks, and it's actually 6-inch, but the actual size is 5.5, and that works really nice with this whole design. You get this centerpiece here that you can put tools on, or you can even put some potted plants on there. And then the ends I haven't attached yet because I'm gonna install these, because these might have to get pounded down in the ground a little bit just to make sure they're level. And then when that's all done, then I'll install those. Super simple to do. And some blocking underneath it. Just use some scrap. You can see that underneath there. For the screws. Now here's the important part. You want to make sure you're using a good screw. These are Grk Fasteners. I got this from the orange store, and you see they're treated lumber approved. Majority everything, you know, 2x4 to 2x4 is using this 2 3/4. And what I like about these, every package you buy comes with a fastener, a T15. That's really nice. And then for my smaller stuff, my cedar, I'm using the same type, but I'm using 2 3/4, and I'm using an impact to put them in. So I'll tell you what, let's start cutting some wood. All right, so there's my setup for cutting. And folks, I'm gonna try and do this as efficiently as possible and cut everything at the same time. I'm making 2 more of these. So what I wanna do is I wanna set things up so I can make multiple cuts and know everything's gonna be the same size. So I'm actually using my bench top there as a stop. Got that perfectly set at 5 feet. And now I can cut 8 of these and should be good. All right, folks, there's enough for two full benches, more or less. And you want to see how much scrap? That's about it right there. I did not cut my cedar yet. I'm going to cut that once I get all this put together. So next step is to start putting this together. You're going to start asking, how much is this all costing? So it's going to depend upon, you know, what you're using for wood and what the price is. Remember, I got the buckets for free. Right now, what I've got in is, and I'm rounding up here, it's about $35 per bench, as you see over there. So we're going to start putting these together, give you a look-see as we do that. All right, folks, no sense showing me how I put the whole thing together, but you do want to make sure that when I'm going to build the legs first, is that you're getting things nice and square and nice and lined up. It'll just help you further down the road. And then I'm just using an impact and these 2 3/4 inch screws that are made for going in the pressure treated. Just like that. Piece of cake. All right, before I drive my screws home and put a whole bunch of them in, I want to measure down the bottom, make sure I got the same distance down at the bottom that I do at the top, so it's nice and square. You can do diagonal too and make sure they're square. You want to get it pretty close here. Everything else will go together much better if everything's pretty square. 29 inches is what I want, and that's what I got. All right, the bottom shelf is going to depend a lot on your bucket, so make sure you measure. For mine, I needed 10.5 from here to here. And I cut some spacers here out of some cedar, and that's what I'm using. It's easier than measuring since I'm doing like 4 of these, so it'll make it a lot easier on the other ones. All right, got all 4 of the sides built. Once you get a pattern down here, it goes pretty quick. If you're wondering how many screws this thing's going to take, it's probably going to take about 75 screws per bench here. So quite a few screws, but I'll tell you what, we're not doing any joinery here. This is all hanging on the screws. So the more screws, the better. And you're seeing 4. There's actually 5 because I put one in on the back side too. So there's 5, so 10 per 2x4 there. Then I put the one spacer on the side that the other 2 are going to go in there once I get the sides on. So we'll start putting the sides on and they'll start coming together. So things are a lot easier to work on when you're doing this when it's laying on its side like that. It's at perfect height. So I went and cut my cedar too. Got a little 45-degree angle on there. A couple of screws. These will be coming off because I'm going to stain those. But I want to fit them first and then they can come off. So I'll flip it over and do the exact same thing on the other side. Now I'm trying to keep it square too. So I'm pulling the tape and everything and using a square to try and keep this stuff as, they're 2x4. So they're not, they're not perfectly straight, but it just helps to keep things as square as possible while you're building. Everything else goes together so much more easier. All right, the next thing is put on is our 2x4s that our buckets actually fit on. And what I'm doing there, if you build it to the same dimensions I'm doing, I'm using a 2x4 to give the gap. You can see it on the other side too. It doesn't really line up center. In fact, it's off center. And I did that on purpose because I wanted the weight to be that way toward the edges. And when we get the center in there too, it'll keep it from moving and it's not going to be an issue. So you can do it however you want, but that's how I'm doing it. All right, folks, got the center rail in. That'll get a piece of cedar on it, just 2 screws on either side. If you wanted to go longer, the reason I was trying to be as efficient with my lumber as possible so I didn't have so much scrap, but you could definitely go longer and then get it into that 2x4 right there, and that would really give it some good strength too. But so far this thing is sturdy. I really didn't think I needed any more. So next we'll put some cedar on. All right, folks, I just put my blocking in here, and then I've got these caps that I made. This is out of that same cedar fencing that relatively inexpensive. These were the 4-footers. I cut them about an inch longer, and that's what it's kind of look like. I'll pre-drill some holes. I'm not going to install it now. In fact, I won't install until I got these kind of out in the yard where they belong, because there might be some sledgehammer action in order to get them nice and level in the ground, and I'll be hammering right on there because that's the leg. Get them nice and level. But anyway, folks, I tell you what, that's about all I got to show you here. It's a really simple project to do, and remember, if I can do it, so can you. Tom Horseman at YouTube. Thumbs up, leave a comment, and as always, appreciate you watching. Thank you.